What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rizq Podcast. This is episode 9. If you don't know who I'm sitting with this guy here, Smile to Jannah, this guy here, Smile to Jannah, Mr. Zeeshan. And I'm really excited about this one. Let's get into it. Yo, Zeeshan.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Wa barakatuh. We said salam before, and the reason I have to just say that is because last time I did that with the Way of Life SQ.
Yeah.
When I said salam to him, he just baited me out. He's like, bro, we met each other like an hour ago, man. But anyway, so as I mentioned, I'm really excited to do this podcast. First of all, I just want to give a massive shout out to Smile to Jannah. I keep calling you that. Okay, let's talk about this, because when you're out, right, people must call you Smile to Jannah all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you mind that? Do you mind people?
No, I don't mind.
Do you prefer, like, okay, so now we're talking, if I just said Smile to Jannah all the time, how does that feel to you?
It doesn't really bother me, but normally when people know my name, they tend to go with the name. But
Okay.
if someone prefers Smile to Jannah, yes, each to their own, innit?
That's it. So we're here today with Zeeshan. One of the reasons why I'm really excited about today is because you don't know this, but one of the videos that you released was probably the catalyst, the tipping point for me actually going out there and starting this podcast itself. So it was actually your 100k subs video that you did. And I remember it came out pretty much end of October last year.
Oh, mashallah.
Right?
Okay.
And I saw that when it came out. And wallahi, I'll be honest with you, when I saw it, right? I saw it and I saw
You're
the
like,
title.
what a waste, man.
I was like, what a waste, man. And this waste man's got 100 subs. No. To be honest, it was a bit like that. It was my kind of inner ego, my jealousy that, when I saw all of these people who are doing so well on YouTube, and they've got a platform and they've got a voice, and they're talking about their ideas and their concepts. And in my head, I would always watch these videos and I think, well, you know what? I've got a voice and I can do this as well. Like, but that was years of me thinking that in my head, and years of me looking at other people and thinking like, why do they have this? And, why do I not have it? Right.
Yeah.
And I think when I saw your 100k subs video, the reason why I say it was a tipping point, because you spoke about your journey and that where you came from. And that kind of made sense to me in terms of the reality of not only YouTube, but anything in life. Consistent hard work, and having a mission and working towards that. That's what I got from that video. So just for that, obviously, a massive thank you to you for even putting out that video. It was very different to the type of content that you put out normally, very comedy. That one was very, from the heart, very emotional. And you could see that, look, 5 years of working, grinding, every single, I know myself in the short period of time that I've started, the late hours that you have to put in to even get, a couple of 100 views, to get to 100k subs, mashallah, amazing. So look, I don't want to inflate your ego too much right at the start of the interview, but I just wanted to give you a massive shout out to say that, look, on a real level, that was a massive achievement. I think someone who's done it within the Dawa scene as well, like you've always said, like, no music, no free mixing, we keep it halal 100%, and to get 100k subs plus, I think is a testament to yourself, and also something which we should look at in terms of social media and YouTube as a platform, and say, look, there are good things that can be done with these things. It's not all mental health issues. Like, good things can happen from it as well. What are we taking from it?
100.
But let's get straight into it then, guys. Zeeshan, obviously we've just spoken about, the growth that your channel has had. We see where you are today. We see the amount of content that you're putting out on a daily basis. I want to talk about where things kind of all started for you. You mentioned that you're 30 now, you're 89, you're 80s baby. Growing up, in the 90s. Where did you grow up in? You grew up in London?
Yeah, London.
You grew up in London, South London?
South
side?
All day, every day.
All day, every day. And so you grew up in South London. What was it like for you growing up in South London? I'm not going to lie. When you told me the area that you live in, my first kind of gut reaction to that was, oh, this is the hood. And when I actually came here, I was like, I said it to you, I was like, oh, this is a really nice area. I really like it. Yeah. So what was growing up in the 90s in South London as a British Muslim, British Pakistani Muslim? What were kind of your experiences back then?
I guess my kind of upbringing was a bit different in the sense that I don't know. There was it's like Jim Quick says. He's like, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. Yeah. So sometimes what happens is we look at our past and then we constantly justify our flaws in our behavior, and we blame, oh, my father wasn't there, oh, it's because I didn't have siblings. I mean, on paper, my father passed away when I was young. I haven't had brothers or sisters. My mum, she couldn't speak the language even till today. Like, there's a communication thing. But bottom line is, she loved me. Bottom line is, she came to this country because if she would have stayed in Pakistan, then she didn't want people to say, look, he grew up on our leftovers, or we contributed to him growing up. How dare you speak out? So she wanted that independence from people that would later, or that could later oppress us.
So were you born in Pakistan?
I was born here.
Oh, you were born here, okay.
But when my father passed away, she went back, and then the in-laws obviously tried to kind of say, look, you need to stay here. And she said, long story short, it was that tussle. Like, do I stay there or do I come here? After consulting with family, friends, people of knowledge, eventually she decided it was best to come here. So I could have been that kid that just lives in a village and just grows up there and just is one of those typical Pakistanis. But I think because of the basira Allah has given our elders, ultimately they've made a decision. And alhamdulillah, we came here. And I think I've lived in Brixton. I've lived in like estates as well.
Right, okay.
To such a degree that because my mum didn't know the language, it was to such a degree that there used to be, because the gang in the area knew that my mum can't speak the language. So they would deliberately sit outside our house.
Right.
And just congregate there, make noise and just intimidate her.
Right, okay.
So the whole of the night she would spend awake and I would sleep. And then when I would get up, then she would sleep.
SubhanAllah, man.
And I think the catalyst for that was, I think one night they put fire through the door. And because of that, she got really worried. She called police and everything. But her main worry was, had I not been awake, we would not have a house now. It would have burnt down. So because of that, I was quite intimidated. Like, because of the whole language thing, mum didn't understand the culture and society, so I lived quite sheltered. She was very close to me. I used to follow her everywhere. And then as I started growing up, then slowly I started breaking the shackles that were around me. Like I remember until year 2,
right,
I used to have a English support teacher there.
Okay.
I tell my students this as well. I'm like, I used to, you're with the class and then you get pulled out, and then there's this freshie teacher teaching you English, and I'm just there like, all around me are familiar. So I'm looking at my class and I'm like, yo guys, like, I know the language, help. Half an hour later, bro, then I go back and then I'm like, flip. And I remember in year 2, bro, she said, you know what, Zeeshan? I was like, yeah. She was like, you don't need me anymore, you can join your class. And I was like, bro, I was so gassed, man, to join my class, bro. And not having an English support teacher, yo, I was so excited.
You're a certified English teacher,
bro
now.
I was like, yo, flipping, let me bust out the dictionary, the thesaurus. Like, bro, I would max out the thesaurus. Even my year 3 teacher was like, yo, like, he'd come to me, look at my book reviews, be like, oh, you used a new word. Bro, I was proper gassed. But then still people obviously mock you, isn't it? GCSE time came, bro, and bro, alhamdulillah, the time I saw my mum really proud was when I brought home that A for English.
Oh, nice.
And that was a big thing for us. There was a time that we couldn't speak English, and now you're leaving the people that used to mock you behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the sort of thing that I came from.
Okay.
And then, well, long story short, then came, I think I was in year 8 when 9/11 happened.
I was just going to say, because you mentioned GCSEs, but yeah, 9/11, 2001, that, I mean, we're same age, by the way, 89. So I remember as well. And it's interesting because I remember the moment that I realized that as a Muslim, I had to be slightly cautious with what I said. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I mentioned something in GCSE textiles. No, it's whatever, not GCSE, but whatever textiles class. And I had a Muslim teacher. She wore hijab, mashallah. Her name was Miss Muhammad. And I think we were talking about something with a couple of friends. And she came up to me. She was like, "Don't ever talk about this topic to anyone." And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Because like people won't, like, you'll never win this conversation. You'll never like, just try to stay away from it. If people come up to you, just kind of say that, tell them that you're really sorry that happened." So as like an 11-year-old, 10-year-old, you're kind of already being told and taught as a psyche that as a Muslim we have to be apologetic. So for you then, kind of year 7, year 8, 9/11. So you're growing up in this estate. You're growing up with kind of a lot of gang culture around you. Anyway,
we are literally the 9/11 generation.
Yeah,
we're the
yeah.
war on terror generation.
Yeah.
That's literally how we've seen our religion. Evolve.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even the gang culture was affected by this as well. Like locally, ironically, this on my road, SMS used to live here as well.
Okay.
So because we're only about 20 minutes away from Brixton, and that's the hub of SMS, but SMS was here as well. They still are. And then you had PDC as well.
And
SMS are, they were the prevailing gang of South London.
Okay.
That they were known. Like now you've got the 6-7s, but in those days it was the SMS. It was the SMS.
Right, okay.
Yeah, first they were called Southman Syndicate.
Okay.
And then it became Serious Muslim Soldiers because they
really?
because they started converting.
Right.
And when they started converting, like all the cool kids in our school, they started following suit. That's when the Palestinian scarves started coming out. People started doing their shahada. Obviously, there were like a few things that they did that was a bit dodge. But on the whole, that was the kind of the other side of the war on terror thing. So that was a bit of an encouragement to us. But then ultimately, like you said, we were told, don't say this, don't say that, you'll get picked up, this will happen, that will happen. And then I was like that. I just stayed quiet most of the time. Just stuff was inside. We just see our religion constantly being battered, and you start questioning your identity, and it comes to a stage you start questioning your religion. You're like, I'm seeing it everywhere. Seeing it in the news, seeing it from the non-Muslims, seeing it from the teachers, seeing it from the programs. Are we terrorists? Is our religion evil? And when you question this thing, either you can be a questioner that you just question, but ultimately you, by osmosis, you take whatever society is saying, or you question something and you search for the answers. Yeah, you're a critical thinker. You say, all right, I've heard that side. Let me see if the other answer exists. The other side exists. I looked for it, and boy, when I found that, I was like, this is not right. These are lies, bro. These are lies. And then that's when I was like, you know what? Flip it, man. Flip off. Mother flippers. And that's when I was like, nah,
I got to do something, got to say something.
But even then I didn't.
Okay.
I started, alhamdulillah, there came a time that even with, like, my mum used to take me straight after school to this teacher to learn Quran. Then then eventually when I was outgrowing that, he suggested, you got to go to the masjid. You can't keep coming here. And my mum, bless her, and increase her, straight after school, bro, we used to have to go, and the teacher gave me a window. He said, if you're there by this time, 5 minutes, then I can teach you. Otherwise, that's it, I'm gone. And there were some certain times we used to rush there and he was gone. You know what I mean? And alhamdulillah, I used to think, like, what's the point? The small things, like I used to look at him with, like, his face covered with hair. I used to be like, why are you doing that to your face? What's the point? Because everyone around me, they were clean shaven. I was like, why would you deliberately grow that? What's the point? So alhamdulillah, with my mum, she didn't push Islam on me, but she wasn't against Islam.
Okay.
Like I could see it being practiced at home. Salah time came, she would pray, she would read Quran. But discussions and stuff like that, it wouldn't happen. But it was there, so I was in the middle. So my mind wasn't made up by my mother.
Okay.
So then afterwards, I would go to the masjid, then listening to the khutbahs, and then I started hanging around scholars. And then as I started hanging around scholars, I learned a lot from them.
You mean as a teenager, You're going to the mosque,
Yeah.
meeting the scholars, sitting with them, talking with them.
It's because when I joined madrasa, I developed a sort of relationship with the teachers. I was familiar with them. Then after, when you go to pray, even when you've left, you still see them. And then I think one of them actually said, look, mashallah, you've done well. Would you like to teach here? So then I was like, yo, that would be brilliant.
Oh,
so
wow.
Then,
mashallah.
yeah, so it was basic like qaida and stuff. So when I did, then I got to see them in a different light, got to ask them certain questions that I had harbored in. Because certain people that are born within Islam, they take it for granted. So if you're not practicing and then you start practicing, I feel that your iman can be more stronger.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think there's a reason why through hardship Allah gives you ease, because you will never appreciate ease without hardship anyway. So when it comes to anything, like, that's why, like, for me, the way that I look at the creation of Allah, the way that he's created processes and principles that we need to follow, and if we follow certain processes and principles, we will achieve. It's very simple for you. You work, you put in the work consistently, you get it, right? This isn't coincidence, this isn't chance, this is because Allah has created that as a rule, as a principle. So no, I definitely agree that this is the same thing when it comes to your iman, when it comes to your salah, that when you've gone through jahiliyyah and then you find Islam, it's such a powerful revelation in your mind that you really it just kind of flips everything. You appreciate it on a different level, which is why a lot of revert brothers will be a lot more practicing than Muslim-born Muslims, because they've seen how life is outside, not even having the cultural Islamic environment around them, which, is good enough to keep a lot of Muslims kind of praying. These people have come from completely nothing, alcohol, pork, drugs, whatever it might be, and then they found Islam, and then they absolutely fall in love with it because they've seen the other side. So no, I completely agree with what you're saying, yeah.
And because of that, because I was hanging around scholars, I would see them say gems, bro. Well, I would hear them say gems. I would see them, implementing the deen. And I think the impetus came, I think once a scholar was there and he was discussing a subject, and he had like books next to him that he was referencing that were very rare, and there were only like 5 people in front of him. And I was like, yo, what a waste.
Yeah.
Like, what a waste. And they were like grandpas there just nodding their head. They weren't appreciating what you were saying. And I was like, this needs to get out there. This needs to get out there. And then we just went around, £5 each. We bought a camera, started recording that. And then I started, really pushing them and just posting their lectures and stuff. So that was the next step.
Where were you posting them? On Facebook?
YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube.
So what, back in 2008, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, up those years?
The thing is, before YouTube, I used to see these teachers with admiration. I used to love their confidence, because I was an introvert, bullied in secondary school for whatever, not speaking out, for a flaw with the way you look, whatever people hook on, that my confidence was shot. And that's why when I used to hang around them, I used to be like, wow, they're confident, they're talking about religion, but we're embarrassed of religion. We're ashamed of it. And not that confident, like what is the point? And then I used to see him on the minbar speaking to hundreds. I used to be like, wow, each word he's saying, he's getting reward for that, like, and he's inspiring people. Like, he has I don't know if he truly grasps like the awesomeness of what he's doing. Obviously they do, but so I was like, I wish I could do that. And I would make dua that, oh Allah, use me to spread deen to the 4 corners of the globe. I don't know how he would do it. I didn't question that, but we're always told that, when you're asking the great one, ask him great things. You know what I mean? Don't ask small things to a great one. So I would say that in those days there was no YouTube. So then I originally started, when YouTube did come out, I had dial-up internet. And I remember one of my teachers, he was like, Zeeshan, you need to get internet. You need to get like solid internet. And then when I did, then I saw YouTube, and I found YouTube fascinating, bro. Like, any topic for free you can type in and it's there. Nasheeds, lectures, programs, comedy, Mr. Bean. Bro, Mr. Bean on demand. Flip your neck, bro. That was simple guy, innit?
Yeah, that's
So I was like, yo, Mr. Bean, yo, flipping heck. And Nasheed, yo, Quran, any Quran recitation, yo, Naat, Naat, innit, bro? Like, yo, Naat, flipping heck. Bro, free. And then I remember there was this Qasida Burda. The classic Mawla Ya Salli Wa Sallim. Bro, the old school one, the first one. When I heard that, I was like, yo. And then I had Windows Movie Maker. So then I just added a few quotes, a few pictures. When I uploaded it, bro, the feedback that I was getting was wicked.
Oh, really? Straight away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that started getting views. And I was like, yo. Then I uploaded another nasheed. So I started first by uploading nasheeds. And in those days, there wasn't that much copyright stuff. And then I started getting flagged for copyright when the nasheed artists getting bigger. And then I was like, I need to transition to another part of my life now.
Okay.
That's when that then ties in with the whole lectures thing.
Okay.
Then I was like, yo, I need to start another channel where I'm just posting lectures from scholars.
So how old are you at this point?
I don't know, bro. Like this was... I don't know. I think Halal Dawa Records was the channel that got shut down like 4 times. I think the 4th generation of it is still there.
You're like Suge Knight. You had your own record label.
Bro, actually, it was.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
I had like certain artists that had signed up, bro. Pious Poet and another brother. And yeah, I would just repackage them and just put it. So that's how I did it. Like I felt empowered, bro.
Okay.
Like from an introvert who wasn't valued in his own community, he didn't know that many people. Then through the internet, bro, I was just given these wings and I could be who I wanted to be. And, I could see people like-minded that were commenting, and it just gave me a source of community. And then posting lectures of scholars. And then that was another part of my life. And then I felt very honored that I could help take their lectures to across different countries. Because of that, certain scholars were able to go to different countries because of those lectures. But then ultimately I noticed that I'm not reaching the people that need to be reached.
Okay.
And that's when I saw certain YouTubers and I was like, comedy, man. Like comedy transcends barriers and cultures. You can say any a comedian can say pretty much anything in those days. Now it's obviously political correctness, but at that time they could say anything, and I was like, yo. And I could see certain Pakistani YouTubers, certain Muslim YouTubers, and I was like, people are complaining about them that they're not doing this right, they're not doing that right, but no one's doing something.
You mean in terms of like certain YouTubers are doing things and they're Muslims, but there's something that's like, oh, he's talking to a girl there, like we shouldn't be promoting that. We shouldn't be. Or
it's not even that. It was mockery of the deen.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like this was like, this isn't like borderline stuff or even.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Like this was like some serious stuff. Like scholars were getting involved.
Yeah.
And this was like, all right, like we've identified the problem. But what's the cure? You can tell someone to stop smoking. You're like, all right, cool. What do I do? That's important. When you're advising somebody, you have to put yourself in their shoes, bro. That's the key of dawah. Like immerse yourself in their issue and really, walk around in their shoes and realize, all right, this is how I would feel. This is and really, but rather than just giving them, I'll be patient. Our brother, just do 2 rakat. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I'm saying is, you need to add context to that. If you're telling a person 2 rakats, add context to that. You're saying patient, add some context to that, isn't it? So then I spoke to a few people and I was like, yo, you're funny, man. And you're practicing. For you to open a YouTube channel, bro, you would clock it. They're like, yeah, inshallah, yeah, really good. Bro, the amount of inshallahs I heard, bro. The amount of, yeah, man, let's do it. Bro, no. There was even one brother that we agreed that we would both open a channel.
Okay.
We did, but it was me uploading everything.
Okay.
So I tried different channels. There was one kids channel. I tried a Nasheed channel I had, then a lectures channel, then a Peace TV channel. Like I tried all avenues. I was like, flipping, I've got the internet. Why don't I try everything?
So you were very kind of set that I want to upload content to this platform, YouTube, and I want to connect with other Muslims and other non-Muslims who are kind of interested in knowing who God is. That's kind of what you were always. That seems like that's always been the mission. So rather than the channel being focused on something else, your mission kind of led you from one channel to the next to where you are now. Is that kind of
It's because I think since about 16, 17, that's when I decided to grow my beard, the sunnah length. And then I was like, you know what? Once I made that, I was like, I'm going to dedicate. Not necessarily. It was like I was content with my decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So because I was content with it and I knew what I was believing and what I was doing was the right thing. And naturally, the next step is you look around and you see people like lost and confused, and then you're like, how do I get to these people?
Yeah.
So then that once you know and you've got that foundation, and that foundation comes from knowledge, comes from scholars.
Yeah.
Why? Because scholars are inheritors of the prophets. So a person can try bypass them, but ultimately you need a connection to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Can I ask a question? Just it's something that kind of happens. Not just when a person kind of gains knowledge and this enthusiasm for Islam and religion or whatever religion. It kind of is whatever someone's passionate about and they've just found this passion. There's that kind of almost overzealousness that overtakes them. And you know, they even with me, for example, right? There's people who will come to me. They'll tell me certain things, and it's like, okay, you've just found this passion. This is something that I've been doing for kind of years and years and years. Maybe not just podcasting, other things. And this person is kind of, you know, advising me like, oh, you should do it like this and you should do it like that. And obviously that in itself is something which can go two different directions. It sounds like for you, you know, you got this, and again, you were like, okay, I want to use these tools that I have to promote this. A lot of other people kind of are the other side, where they'll be the YouTube trolls, and you know, there'll be the guys who are commenting and stuff like that. There's probably going to be you know, a lot of kind of 16 to 25-year-olds watching this who are probably making a similar transition as well in their lives. I find that that's a typical age for people to start actually thinking quite critically and to start to get a bit more awake and awoke or whatever it might be to God. To those people who are 16 to 25, and they may not even realize that, you know, they're part of who I'm talking about, and that's part of the problem. But what's your kind of, I suppose, advice to people who have found the religion and, you know, they feel this mission that I need to give this to everybody, when I think a lot of the times we need to kind of just actually learn it ourselves and show the dawah kind of in our adab rather than in just kind of telling people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's why the thing that alhamdulillah for me was I was around scholars.
Yeah.
And scholars, because they're inheritors of the Prophet, whatever they say through evidence and through a tradition. But the thing is, when you try bypass that and you just learn through YouTube videos and text, there's a misunderstanding and a misconception that can happen from there, because you're taking a snapshot from a hadith or from an aspect of the seerah, and then you're conflating it to kind of meet with your understanding. But the thing is, when you've got scholars and people that are, you know, understanding of the deen, then they'll give you a better understanding. So you're not gonna start going to people and wanting to convert them straight away, because the scholars would have told you that hidayah comes from Allah. You present the message in the best way possible. And also, like the scholars that are mashallah more on the ball, they would say the best dawah is through your action. And that's the dawah that we are lacking, because the scholars that are the surgeons, they can diagnose what the issue is and they can advise accordingly. But the problem is when we think that we know better, or we are unable to take the good and leave the bad, and because of that we paint all of the scholars with one brush as extremists, backwards, whatever, and we think that no, we'll go with this. But take the good and leave the bad. Alhamdulillah, I was able to do that, and because of that I was able to get the benefit, and that zeal was good. But if you're with the scholars, they will tell you. And when you go to them like, Shaykh, I'm speaking to these people, they'll say, okay, you're speaking to the people, how are you speaking to them? You understand? There's that dialogue.
Yeah.
But when a person cuts them off from that and they try to do it their own way, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So that's what I would suggest. I would say link yourself with a scholar. But the thing is, certain people will, the scholar has to have a background as well. Just like a doctor, you see where they've studied from. Is he well known? Is he established? Same with scholars. You don't just go for someone that's got the most followers or whatnot. You see somebody that implements the deen, that, you know, is knowledgeable of the Quran and the Sunnah. And when it comes to these people, I mean, when you leave their gathering, do you end up hating people,
Mm-hmm.
or do you end up wanting to bring people together?
That's deep.
You know what I mean?
I think that's actually something that should become almost like a rule of thumb when you're leaving a gathering, because if you're leaving a gathering which is for the sake of Allah, and you're leaving that with more kind of hatred in your heart or any negative energy, that's you probably didn't learn Islam correctly. You've probably just heard someone who's got an agenda, and he's taken a few little ayahs and clips and sound bites and just put it together for you. And so I think that's actually a really good rule of thumb, that look, I'm going to go back to this person if he's given me good energy, positivity, and he actually wants me to build bridges with people. And if someone's telling me to, like, burn these bridges, I'm probably not going to go back to them.
Yeah, it's because there's a lot that are promoting sectarianism, and I get it at a certain time, a few years ago, like there was a big sectarian kind of discussion in the UK. Like I remember that, a lot of people were part of it, but I think we've kind of grown out of that now.
Yeah.
And now it's have differences with someone, but don't confuse differences for enmity.
Yeah. It's interesting. I remember growing up when I was around 14 or 15, that's when, and I didn't know too much about it myself personally at the time. I knew bits and pieces, but I was never really into it that much. But I know that there was obviously the big kind of Hizb ut-Tahrir movement. There's the Muhajiroun guys that, I mean, when you even look at stuff like that, they jumped into our school and they kind of graffitied like an Arab man wearing a scarf with Arabic and stuff like that, and you know what I mean. And you're kind of looking at that, like, again, as a 14, and I have to answer these questions now. They've come and they've sprayed graffiti in Arabic, and I'm the Muslim.
Yeah.
And in school I was quite forthright with who I am. I was always quite confident with who I am. Even with 9/11 that happening, that never put me into a shell. That kind of
emboldened you.
Emboldened me. It was like, okay, cool, I need to back myself now because this is who I am, right? This is what I believe. So I was always the one who was trying to defend it, and now you've got people jumping over fences and doing graffiti, and now I'm having to answer that as a Muslim. I am the representation of all Muslims now, right?
Yeah.
And I think those type of events at that period of time really didn't help the situation for people who had weaker iman. And it's interesting, something that's just come to my mind is I remember being in year 9, and we're sitting in our registration class, our form class, and there was a Muslim guy who was sitting in, he was in my class since year 7, year 8. He was good enough guy. We were cool. He said something which was deep, right? And not in a good way. He said, people were talking about, what was happening in whatever war, or whatever, Afghan, Iraq, whatever was happening. And he just said, this is all because of religion. Religion should never exist. And I looked at him and in my head I was thinking, but you're a Muslim.
Yeah.
Like, that was weird for me. I was like, you're a Muslim. How can you say religion shouldn't exist? I didn't say this to him, but it was in my head. I was like, and I realized now that was the first kind of atheist, Muslim who'd become an atheist that I'd ever kind of encountered. And I never knew that was a thing. I never knew that someone who knew Islam, who understood Islam, could ever think that Islam shouldn't exist. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of organizations at that period of time who were trying to do good things, but then a lot of the negativity always overshadows the positivity, doesn't it? So it is difficult back in those days to kind of know who you were, know who you should be, and kind of, should I follow the rules or should I follow the cool kids? So I think it's quite interesting, the fact that you've always been very close to, like you said, the scholars. You've always been close to the madrasa and the masjid, and that's not something that anybody forced you to do either. Like you said, your mother didn't force you to do these things. It was just presented, it was laid out to you, and you chose to do it. So you started these channels and you're trying to promote the deen through digital means. And I think that actually makes you one of the pioneers in that scene, because not many people would take the time out to actively, make these videos, put it online for that purpose. What was your main mission and main drive when you were doing these things? Was it to get out of the small world that you were living in, the sheltered life, the gang culture outside, or was it to get closer to more people in Islam? Was it to what were you thinking at this point in terms of this is why I need to spend my time doing this?
I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest. Like it was, we got something in our area, let's push that forward. But it was also, it was a creative a expression of creativity as well, that you were able to do this. You could create something in the comforts of your home because you don't feel like going out. And also it's dealing with what life's given you. Like there's a saying, if life throws lemons at you, make lemonade. So I knew I was alone. I hadn't interacted with that many people, so I was like, okay, what can I do with my solitude? I could use it creatively and use that solitude to learn and to create, or I could just sit and mope around. So it is what it is. Like certain people that are given whatever Allah's presented for them, they need to see how they can make that work for them, because they've been given that for a reason. But it's up to you to discover what that reason is. And being connected to the source, to Allah, facilitates the answer quicker. If you're not connected with the source, it'll just take longer. And you just end up trialing other things, seeing them, experimenting, seeing it doesn't work, and then eventually you'll get to the answer. But then the only thing is it'll be too late. Everyone gets there eventually, but at what expense though? Like, does it have to go through drugs and inappropriate relationships and materialism and doing this? Or are you just going to save that kind of time and just take the simpler route? Might be more difficult, not that enjoyable, but at least you'll have something that a lot of people don't, which is peace, sakina. So I guess my thing was, bro, I was a very simple kid in the sense that when I heard like Allah's created us, this is all a creation of Allah, this is why we're here. I was like, all right, this is why we're here, this is why we pray. Okay, then why would people not pray? I don't get it. We're supposed to pray, but then I pray. But there's people not praying. Why? It didn't make sense. All right, he's saying, all right, now, all right, cool. Like, I don't get it. Why would someone not fast? It's like you with the atheist. I don't get it. Like, you're a Muslim. Why are you saying this?
Exactly.
What's the logic behind it? So if someone claims to be a Muslim, it even now, like, it perplexes me when people are kind of making videos with girls and stuff like that. I'm like, hang on a minute, I don't get that. How? Like, sometimes I try to empathize. I'm like, how would you justify that when it's clearly negated by the text? The most simplest, or if you get to the root of it, the most they'll say is, oh, I'm weak, or don't judge me. There's no real substance behind it. It's just their kind of weakness or what they're doing, which is fine, but just don't bring the religion into it. Don't make yourself out to be like the religious one. So that's what it was. And I was like, people are complaining that there's no one with a beard on there and this and that. So then eventually I was like, you know what? I'll step up then. I'll step up. I'll do something. That's when I put a camera and I tried it. And bro, there was a lot of resistance at the start. What are you doing there? It's pathetic. Like, are you making yourself out? Because I was in my local area. I had a beard. I would wear the jubba. And when you choose that style of dress and you grow the beard, people fix that as your identity. Like, there's no other element to you. You're a religious kind of. But I was like, there's so much more to me. No. What do you mean no? No. That's not a yes or no question. It's like, no, that's it. You do. Like, I remember I would be sitting in the masjid smiling. One of the uncles came like, oh, you got a beard. Like, what are you doing? A snowball fighting, and the uncles would be like, what? No, you don't do this. Then I was like, hang on a minute. But then when I would speak to the scholars, they'd be like, that's just uncle. And then they would give me another dimension that would embolden me. And they would say, look, this is Islam. And I'll be like, yo, like he's like, yeah, Islam is not just 5 to 7 in the madrasa. It's not just when you pray salah. It's your identity. It's your life. And then I was like, yo, I need to show this to people, because like, I genuinely thought if you have a beard and that's it. I was very kind of strict, like within my lane. I wouldn't deviate. But then I was like, that's just me keeping Islam to myself. But if I am to genuinely make a change, I will need to understand and put myself in other people's position, and just kind of loosen a little bit and understand. And that's what I did. That's why, like, some people will say, oh bro, you use beatboxing sometimes or hums. That's a gray area.
Yeah.
But at the end, I'm like, all right, cool, bro, like, I respect your position. Is it haram? No, it's not, but it's a gray area. I'm like, cool, I'm fine with the gray area. As long as I'm not falling in haram, I'm fine with that.
Because the Islamic kind of position is everything is halal unless proven haram, right?
Yeah. And of course, I understand the thing that there's other kind of principles as well that, you know, if but I don't want to get into all that. I'll leave that for the scholars. But what I'm saying is, this was a certified grey area, and I was fine with that. And I didn't mind, you know, acting the fool, you know, if I could help other people. And that's when I kind of found this kind of path. And because of that, slowly I started changing as a person. I started, you know, networking with people. Allah started opening the doors. I started getting respect from people that I didn't think I could get respect from. Wallahi, the deen honored me. Why? Because I attempted to honor the religion.
So this is 2013, 2014.
Dates, I don't know. Smile to Jannah is about 5 years old.
6 years old.
6.
Because you said 5 on your video last year.
Subhanallah.
I got you.
I don't know, bro.
So 2013,
yeah.
The reason why I wanna kind of drill down on some dates as well is because I just want to make things real for people in terms of like time, you know. So 2013, you would have been 24 years old. So 24 years old, you'd already had multiple YouTube channels that you were putting out. That, you know what I mean? Like you'd probably been doing it for about 7 or 8 years prior to that, at least, right? So it's never the first thing that you do that's always going to be the big hit. That's going to be the big thing. It's a journey, and I think we were talking about this kind of off camera beforehand, which is, you know, people you know, will always want to reach out to you. People want to do so many things. People want to do so many things with their lives all the time, and the number of things that people actually start or follow through is very different. And I think if you're not passionate and if you don't have a mission about what you're actually trying to achieve, you'll always stop. And you know, again, from, you know, 16 when you first started to now 2013, 2014, you've gone from behind the camera on your mission to now you're in front of the, you know, you're making that transition now to being in front of the camera. So at this age, 23, 24, you would have, you know, you would have gone through your education. You would have started working now at this point. So were you actually in employment at this time as well? You know, were you working? Because that's something that's always on people's mind is, you know, who's going to see this? You know, which type of friends are my colleagues is my boss going to see? You know, those type of questions. So was that going through your mind at the time, or were you just
Smile to Jannah?
Smile to Jannah, yeah.
It was, but I just reached a wall of frustration because it was just growing. Like, I could see people talking about problems. Like, even when I was going with scholars, like, they'd gather and they'd sit down and there'd be discussions. How do we bring the youth, the favorite word, youth? How do we get the youth into the masjid, the youth? I was like, all right, cool. And suggestion would be made, and people would drink tea, have biscuits, and, you know, just dust it off and just walk off. Like, nothing would actually materialize. Why? Because it would just be the same old method. And I was like, the deen is amazing. Like, the message is there, but you can package it in a certain way that is digestible. You know what I mean? Like cowpole. I remember cowpole nowadays used to taste rank. But then they started adding other stuff to it. Now it's medicine, but, you know, it's more digestible. There's ways that you can make things more digestible. Like, even the Bollywood actor Amir Khan said this as well. He said, you know, if you are to convey a message, you need to first entertain people. Entertain people, then give them a message, then that message is more digestible. So it follows the similar principle of cowpole, and that's a similar principle that I kind of adopted, which was entertain people using the halal means, and then give them a message. Dilute the message. You don't, you know, like you get an inflatable hammer from the fun fair. Like, I didn't want to just bash people over the head with Islam. And people are like, no, bro, you got to put this in there. I was like, you know what? Just me being there with the beard, starting with salam and not using haram stuff, that's dawah in itself. And I've noticed, even now when you speak to non-Muslims, you can give them a 2-hour lecture, but ultimately what will they say? They'll say, yeah, but I don't see that though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but what about these guys? Speak to this. And that's the bottom line. Like, we have to fix our own house. I I don't want to say this because some people use this as a lazy thing. Oh no, we got to fix our own house before we reach to other people. Do a bit of both. Fix your house and reach out to people as well. But I like the point that you made about the dates, because I guess when you're mentioning the age, certain people will be able to relate with that. They'll be like, damn, I'm 25. He did that at 23.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I see where you're coming with that.
And that's the whole point of even kind of sitting here with you today is the fact that, look, you're a Muslim who is very proud to be a Muslim and follow the Sharia according to
Bro, to be fair, I don't have a choice. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
It's like when I go to Pakistan and they're like, yo, Zeeshan England se aaye, oh, Zeeshan, oh, thodi English bolo. I'm like, hello, my name is, oh, dekho Zeeshan English bol raha hai, he's speaking English.
You take the A certificate with you as well. Like, bro, I got this, man. Certified.
Nah, I don't want the evil eye, bro. Come on, man. You gotta behave, bro. Behave. So, I was saying, and then when they speak to me, bro, I say, you know what, guys? I'm from England, and in England, I've seen the stuff that you guys aspire to, but I'm still practicing. You know why? Because honestly, no other path works. If something else worked, like when I see these people in the movies and they're partying, bro, come on, man. I want to party. I want to party like a Saturday night. Come on, man. Bro, I want a girlfriend. Bro, I want to trim this down to I want a little mundri. Bro, when I used to see those sideburns, see that piercing, yo, flipping tattoos. Bro, come on, man. Bro, I was saying to someone, I was like, bro, if tattoos were halal, bro, flipping like The Rock, bro, flipping every, like Randy Orton, like the sleeve tattoos. Come on, bro. But the thing is, when you look into it, bro, nothing else works. Like tried and tested, nothing else works. I wish I could give like a really inspirational thing, but nothing else works. So, and when you look into this, bro, like Islam says, come at me, bro, come at me, and you flipping challenge it, you throw stuff at it, and flipping like it comes out still on top, and you're like, this shows every evidence of being from the divine. Because were it like another religion, no offense to the Christians, like if I was to open a Bible, flipping on the first page, seventh day God took a rest, already that's bringing so that, no offense to them, like I'm sure they can interpret it, but to me, like Napoleon, he converted from outlaws, he converted to Islam. He's saying one of the things was that seventh day God took a rest. Like we don't know that if God has recovered from that rest. I could be praying to him now, is he taking a rest, is he listening to me? Oh, he saw this and then he saw it was good, he created that, he saw it was bad, so he didn't know originally that it was good. So already there's questions that I'm going to church, I'm singing in the church, like, did Jesus do this? No, he didn't. Then the hymns, like, did he do that? Like, you're coming, like, we're going there in a suit, like, did Jesus, like, there's more questions than there are answers. You know what I mean? Like, but with Islam, you throw things at it and flipping, like you throw lemons and you get flipping a lemonade back and with a straw and everything, and you're like, oh, flipping lovely, like I taste that. So that's the thing. So in that sense, I was like, yo, would I like to do this? Of course, I'm a human being, but do I want to do it? No. Why? Because Islam is, you know what I mean? Like for me, it's black and white. Yeah, desires come or whatnot, and you have to fight against that, and you have weak moments or whatnot. But ultimately, you know, like you distinguish your weakness from the tenets of Islam. You're gonna say, bro, that's my weakness. If someone says, bro, you said this or you said that, all right, cool, that's my mistake. Keep that separate from Islam. But the problem now is when people blur that line, and because they're doing something wrong, they say, no, but this isn't obligatory. This isn't this. Like that's where issues start. It
really is very I mean the term influencer, right, when you look into it, you're having influence over people, right? People are being influenced by you, right? We just don't think about it. We call it, okay, an influencer, that's who they are, but actually when you think about it, they are someone who change opinions and thoughts of people, right? Even when it comes to things like, for example, marriage. Very recently, I heard someone say, you know, I've met this person, I want to get married to them. They live in another country, and as soon as, you know, the family were asking questions, saying that, you know, okay, who are they? You know, where are they from? What's their background? Straight away, it was very kind of hey, this is what this is an example of, you know, parents and Muslims making it hard to get married. It's like, no, chill out, relax.
Yeah.
You know, relax. Okay, we're not gonna just allow you to marry anybody without verifying and checking who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it can be really, really tricky to have that balance between, you know, for the audience to know who should I take my information from, who am I learning from, because, you know, we've got people now who have just this crazy impatience, and there is, you know, to put it bluntly, there's a lack of respect for those who have more experience and more knowledge and wisdom. I don't necessarily mean someone who's older, because that never is. There's never
always the case.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think yeah. So from your perspective, you wanted to be someone who was on the other side, where it's like, you know, I want to influence people towards Islam, but I don't want to do it in a pointing direction. I don't want to say, there you go, just do that. You want to kind of give it to them in a different way. How was this for you in your mind, in terms of like your, I suppose your pride or your ego, you know, going on camera and being a comedian with a beard? You know, no one's seen that before. You know, no one wants to. What, you're a Muslim, you're a Pakistani comedian? Like, what? This is crazy. You know, even today, you know, if some kid was to tell their Pakistani parents, like, look, you know, I want to be a comedian, what are they going to say? What's the reaction going to be? Right? It's not going to be one of positivity. It's going to be like, what? So for you,
but it's that whole lemonade thing, bro.
Okay.
Like I hid this from my mum.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
Until and I grew it, because sometimes it is a phase. Yeah, sometimes we'll shut ourselves down. If my mum finds out this what's gonna happen, all right, cool. Don't tell her then. If you believe in it, do it on the side and let it grow.
Okay.
And if it grows to a certain thing that you can now put them in a position, you can say, look, mum, I can earn from this now.
Yeah.
Or mum, like my mum used to be like, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. But now when I'm like, mum, like I uploaded a video 10 o'clock, I've got up in the morning and mashallah 10,000 people around the world have seen it. She appreciates that. You know what I mean? Rather than telling her mum, you know, I spend 10 hours in front of the laptop and 2 people have seen my video. Like, why don't you believe in me? You know, I'm leaving. You know what? Like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, haters gonna hate. Hashtag. You know, like, come on, man. Like, you got to be realistic.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic with these things. And yeah, just, you let it grow. And you know what, honestly, for me, I guess because of where I was, I knew, bro, like there was a time I didn't have a TV, my mom was in the kitchen, I used to play by myself in my room, and I used to just sigh, and I used to be like, I'm so pathetic. Like, Allah, like my life is being wasted.
Right.
I got this opportunity. If I had the opportunity to kind of do something, I've got so much creativity and ideas, and I watch TV and it's rubbish. Like, it's dead. Like, sometimes even now when I watch certain videos from practicing people, I'm like, yo, bro, that's dead, man. It's not on focus. You're waffling for 10 minutes. You could cut that to 5 minutes. Like you could put this in there. Like, come on, man. So I was like, you know what? I had that thirst, but I don't know. No, I guess I do know. Allah was preparing me for something. Yeah, but you need that thirst. Like, it's in any relationship. Like, if we're friends, bro, if I see you every day, you're not going to value my friendship. There needs to be a gap, you know, in when we meet. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you don't have something, you value it. Like, the principle, if you want to know the value of a father, ask somebody who doesn't have one. If you want to know the value of Dawa, ask somebody that doesn't give it, bro. And honestly, I find it liberating that something happens and I'm able to talk about it, and then it reaches other people, and then I remember, even from the gym in the morning, like I remind myself. Yeah, and that's important because that's from our tradition. Like Umar radiallahu anhu would do this as well. He's like, you're the Khalifa now, but there used to be a time where you used to spend the whole day, you know, taking your auntie's sheeps, and you used to only get a handful of dates. Don't forget those days. Don't forget who you were. And that's what it is, bro. I remember the time I used to spend 4 or 5 hours on TK Maxx, you know, flipping, you know, getting rinsed out, and you come home, you're knackered, and you feel like you've achieved nothing. That's why when I got a teaching role, I was like, yo, I can, it's like our tradition, even as old school Muslims from the golden era, is they used to be polymaths. Yeah, for those people that don't know, polymath is somebody who's a master in multiple fields. That's our tradition, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think Malcolm X said this as well, or one of these legends. They said that if you want to destroy a civilization, get rid of the history.
Wow.
And that's what it is with us, bro. Like, if you think like what have Muslims actually done, that's being sidelined. And when you look into that, you're like, yo, we have a lot of potential. Like, if we are truly the vicegerents of Allah on this earth, surely if we pray, like by the end of prayer, I should feel something. Like, don't ask your kids, have you prayed? Ask them, how do you feel now that you prayed?
SubhanAllah.
You know what I mean? Like, add dimension. Don't just say, oh, dua, man, oh, make dua and you will get this. Say, you know you made dua for such and such. What if this thing is not good for you?
SubhanAllah.
Rather than making a specific dua, make a dua of a characteristic that you want, that will benefit you generally. Like, oh Allah, grant me patience, peace, tranquility. Because you could be going through the biggest hardship, but if Allah gives you peace and tranquility, you'll ride through that. But if you're asking, Ya Allah, I want that woman, Ya Allah, I want that job, like, what's wrong with us? We're running on outdated software of religion that's been taught to us when we're 7, 8, and we're running that same software into our, teens, and now that we're older and we think, no, Islam's outdated. No, your understanding of Islam is outdated. We upgrade our phones, we update, our operating systems, but yet the same understanding of dua and salah is the same that we've been taught at 7, 8. No, that understanding, because as a child, you can't tell them deep things.
Yeah.
So you need to tell them, do this, do that, pray 4 rakat, pray 2 rakat, do this, do that.
You're just building a habit, aren't you?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you need to now upgrade that. When they're
context.
Like, exactly. 0 to 10, you can tell the child, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. But 10 to 15, you start questioning them. Should you be doing this? What do you think, like, if this happened? And then, like, post 18, that's when you need to let them make their mistakes. Let the software that you taught them when they were young, kick into gear now. Because that's gone into the hard drive of the body. But the thing is, we want to apply the same software and we want it to work now, but we're not willing to update that. Why? Because we're at work, we're wasting time on Netflix, games and stuff like that. So now you're thinking, all right, that's the problem. I've identified it. All right, what are people doing? People are on their devices. All right, let me get on the device. People on social media, let me get on the social media. Rather than moaning, oh, this is the times, or the day of judgment is coming. All right, cool, it's coming, yeah? All right. Yeah, we know it's coming, but let's flip and do something about it. It's coming in 5 days. Let's do something in those 5 days. A building's on fire. Yeah, it's going to burn down. Everyone's going to die anyway. All right, cool. Save 5 people. Save 10 people. That's what I was like, all right, the building's on fire. Cool. Let me save 6 people. Bro, you don't have that many subscribers, fam. Like, that pie's got the... All right, cool. I got 10 subscribers. I'll do something with 10. You know what I mean? But if you're genuinely doing it for the sake of Allah, you're keeping the sanad of the Prophet ﷺ alive, then bro, Allah's help will come, bro. Like, honestly, I'm going to be real with you, bro. First 2 years of YouTube, I thought I would hit 100k. I thought I would hit it. But bro, it took like 5-6 years. Bro, by the end, I was knackered. I was disappointed. But you know what? I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Got to keep plowing forward. I've got a platform now. And bro, I remember myself, bro. I wasn't known, bro. Living in a council flat. Me and my mom don't know English properly. Like, who knew us? But you know what? Alhamdulillah, as long as you're constantly, you got that you're holding onto that rope of Allah. Bro, come on, man. Like, ask him. Bro, Musa alayhi salam asked Allah, Ya Allah, you're asking me to speak to Fir'aun. I've got a speech impediment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but Allah said, no, I've selected you. You can take it, brother, but I've selected you. Bro, a prophet whose father passes away, then his mother passes away when he's like very young, and then his grandfather, then his uncle, and bro, come on, man, are you crapping me? Like, are you serious, bro? So if you've got holes in your life, use that to drive you. Like Umar radiallahu anhu said, sometimes people with the worst pasts make the best futures. And that's what it is, bro. Like, I know where I've come from. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not afraid. Like, I can be really, I can show you flipping the leak. I had a leak outside my door for a year, bro. It is what it is. That taught me humbleness, bro. Alhamdulillah, now that's fixed. I'm not going to make myself, like, people come and they're like, oh, bro, I thought you were a YouTuber living in a mansion, fam, and this and that. I was like, no, bro, alhamdulillah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Man. So as long as, bro, I know there's different people watching and different things. I'm telling you, if you want your journey to be fruitful, bro, hold on to Islam. Yes, diversify, go in business, go in this and try different things. But keep it within the boundaries of Sharia, and you will have inner peace. I know people with loads of stuff. I've made content, I've made videos where I'm, compiling celebrities that are finished in terms of inside, but they've got everything. The latest Instagram post was by Justin Bieber. He said, I had all of this, but you know what? I just wasn't happy with it. That's what it is, bro.
It's like what you were saying about when you're making dua and you're asking Allah, Ya Allah, give me peace and tranquility. You may get the riches and the fame, but Allah will give you the peace and tranquility. But if you're asking for, Ya Allah, just give me this and give me that, and Allah gives it to you, and it wasn't good for you in the first place, but hey, you asked for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You kept asking for it. You kept saying to me, you kept begging me for this thing. I didn't give it to you because it wasn't good for you, but you kept on asking me. Here you go. Hey, have it, and now you're going to learn a lesson from it. Yeah. So I think that's what it comes down to, is the fact that we generally tend to want things rather than want emotion, and we don't ask for the right emotions. We ask for things, and we expect that thing to give us the emotion that we want. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'd say characteristics.
Okay.
Or traits, personality traits. Because it's traits, bro. Like, you may ask for a person to marry or whatever, but if you don't have the trait of patience, your marriage isn't going to last very long. Yeah, if you're asking for something at an early age, but Allah wants a certain characteristic or trait to develop, bro, that's what it is. Like, sometimes we failed, and this is what I mean by outdated software. We're running on the software that says, oh, you pray, or you do. So person will notice, I pray salah, and they say make dua, or I make dua and I don't get it. I made dua in front of the Kaaba. Why didn't I get it? That's outdated software. You need to update your understanding of dua and understand that you're a different person to what you were when you were 7, 8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's what it is, bro. And when we develop that, then we'll understand the true potential the deen has, and then we start seeing that in others, and we're like, yo, bro, hey, you could be going far, man. You need this, man. So, like, honestly, speak on people's level. Don't speak at them. Speak to them. Speak with them. Yeah, and that's what I would say. Other than applying the deen yourself, if you do that, you'll get people. Yeah. Rather than pushing them away. Yeah.
Let's talk about Dawa then, because we've got to the point on your timeline where now you've created this channel, Smile to Jannah. You're putting content out there. You're giving Dawa in this format, where you're trying to connect with people on a kind of emotional level, so that people laugh and they connect with you, and then kind of they get the gem that's within that, right? So obviously the whole purpose of Dawa is to convey the message, right? So what's been, over the last 5 or 6 years, some of the messages that you've got? I've seen some of your videos where you're responding to hate comments, and even some of the hate comments I get. Now that I start getting some hate comments, and I watched your video, it's just so funny, because it's like people are just the same. And anyway, so hi haters, thanks for the engagement. When it comes to the other side of things, where there's the people who actually appreciate the work that you're doing now, what are some of the experiences that you've kind of been gifted with, I would say, from Allah over these last 5 or 6 years, that kind of is a bit more coal to that fire? It's a bit more fuel to that fire, where you're like, subhanallah, look at that, look, what just happened, look where I am right now. What are some of the major kind of highlights over the last 5 or 6 years for you that really keep that anchor of continuing to do this, for the sake of Allah, and just keep pushing with it?
I guess seeing other influencers that I respect kind of accept my invitation or reach out to me or feature with me, that kind of makes me think, oh, mashallah, I'm getting somewhere if I'm able to get their respect. So that was definitely like a highlight, broadening myself with regards to that. That was another thing. And other thing is just people genuinely messaging like, bro, you've actually cheered me up. You've helped my day, or I was going through this. I think about a day ago, I saw this brother and he's like, bro, your videos changed my life. I was like, bro, are you taking the mic? You're being sarcastic. He's like, no, bro, I was serious. I was like, oh, all right, cool. I thought you were just pulling my leg. So you do get people that say this, but ultimately it's like what somebody said. They said people won't necessarily remember what you say. They remember how you made them feel
Yeah.
when you said it. And that's an important kind of memory retention technique as well. That add emotion to that. So that's another thing. And I guess, bro, there were many times where I was in tears, bro, because I would make content and, bro, it wouldn't be getting anywhere, and I used to spend ages doing it. And it was like I was hitting a wall. But I don't know, something would happen, or I'd see a comment and then I'd just carry on. And I would carry on, bro. It was very difficult because I didn't get support from people. I had to develop that myself. I had to use my periphery accounts to promote my main account. Like, other people weren't, that they were a Dawa guy, you know what I mean? Like, but there were certain people that were unexpected that did. So I had a bit of both, but I was hungry, bro, and I just kept going because I found it liberating that I can create content that people can watch. But what's the alternative? Me being at home, living my life. How many people do I interact with daily? You know what I mean? So this is better. But it's not nice when somebody's like says this sort of stuff to you. But that's when you then look at how other people deal with hate. And then you can change your perspective. So I guess it's helped shape me into the person that I am. Just how I respond to certain people, my kind of way. So I guess when I started seeing that it's helping me, it's changing me, I was like, there's something in this. And that's, that was amongst the things as well. And then I started seeing that, even people of knowledge were reaching out as well. They're saying, bro, you're doing a good thing. And I was like, yo, this is brilliant. Then I was like, I hope to encourage other people as well. And so those were, I think, the three things that really kind of were the highlights.
It's interesting. I remember recently going for dinner. It was a couple of months ago. I went for dinner, and it was a group of people I didn't know. I just knew one of the brothers who had invited me, and one of his friends came and sat opposite me. And mashallah, he was an older brother. He had a beard, and sat down in front of me, greeted me with salam, and then straight away he was like, "Bro, tell me now, how do you give dawah, bro?" First question. I've never met this guy before.
Smashed it.
And he's like, "How do you give dawah, bro?"
Dawa.
I was like, "Dawa?" I was like, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know how I give dawah. Like, I just sometimes I just sit there and then I let people talk to me, and then he's like, no, bro. What do you mean? I was like, all right, bro. Let me be serious with you. Let me be honest with you, right? If someone asked me to give them dawah, I would just tell them to do wudu and go pretend to pray. That's what I would do. That's what I would say to someone as dawah. If someone just came up to me and said, tell me about your religion, I wouldn't actually really tell them much. I would just say, look, just do wudu and pretend to pray, right? Just do the actions. Because for me personally, and I'm probably going to get so many people laughing in the comments for this, but one of the things that kind of just came into my head recently was, how can this religion not be from Allah when I have to wake up early and clean my nose out? I wash my mouth and clean my nose out, because you know what I mean, when you get all that dust and that grime in your nose overnight, and people don't do that unless, you know what I mean, they're taught to do it.
If the Prophet was fake, why would he tell us to do this unnecessary act? Like, what benefit benefit is he gaining from this?
Exactly.
Clean yourself like this in the toilet. Yeah, but do I need to pay you anything? No, you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It only gives benefit to the person, and I think this is the difference between, like, certain, like, very easily you can see if something's a cult, right? It's like, okay, how much money are you giving, and where does it go to? Right? Is there a central point, right? Whereas with Islam, the thing that is very, very different from even Christianity, because even nowadays modern Christianity is all built upon, this church is its own sect basically, right? And come give all your money here, and we'll grow it and we'll all go to heaven because we love Jesus, right? It's confused, right? But anyway, when it comes to Islam, it's these simple acts, right? When I'm at work and I'm sitting at my desk for like 4 or 5 hours, and then it's dhuhr time, and I get up and then I go to the bathroom and I do my wudu, and then I go and I put my head down to the floor and I'm doing these actions. It gives me so much physical relief and mental relief when I'm even putting the cold water on my arms and I'm putting it over my face. These are not things that society tells us to do. These are things that God has taught us to do. And I think things like mental health and physical health would just get solved if people just do wudu and they just prayed, because it's such impactful on a person's physical state when they're breaking out from sitting down at the desk or whatever they're doing, and just breaking out of that and going and humbling yourself to Allah. And just that in itself is enough for me to realize that, wow, like that emotion that I feel, that physical relief that I feel, that mental relief that I feel, this can only be from God. You know what I mean? And if you don't believe that, just do it anyway and you'll feel relief. You know what I mean? Like I believe that you'll feel relief anyway if you did wudu. And so, when I told the guy, he was like, no, brother, you need to tell them about the stars, you need to tell them about the mountains, you need to tell them about the water, you need to tell. And I was like, okay, bro, those are all good points, but not everybody really cares about that. You know, not everybody cares about. People sometimes only understand things through touch and feel and experience and stuff like that. So I think there has been a shift over the last few years, but there still needs to be that shift in terms of how we give dawah, and the fact that adhab, like your mannerisms, is such an important factor when giving dawah. You can have all the knowledge in the world that you have, but if if your breath smells, you don't look nice, people won't want to talk to you. So I think these are some of the other aspects of the dawah that we need to, about our religion, that we need to appreciate, is actually the things that we take for granted. Like you're saying, when you have something, you don't really appreciate it. We've done wudu our whole lives. It hasn't, have we thought about it in this way? So for me, I think the practicality of Islam is enough for a lot of people to even want to do, for people to realize that Islam is the way, the truth. So moving on from obviously that, in terms of, so now you're 5 or 6 years into your journey. You've hit your 100k subs. You said on kind of one of your earlier videos that when I hit 100k, I'm going to stop this now, because I would have reached that point. Obviously on your video you explained your kind of intentions, that look, actually, why would I stop now at this point when we've got this community, we've got this following of people that want this content, and they want to have, they don't want to look at women doing provocative things. They don't want to hear profanity. They just want good, clean, halal, content that they can watch in front of their parents without having to turn it over. Where you are right now, you've hit your 100k, and I think you mentioned on that video as well, you said, look, hitting 100k, yes, it's just a number, but there's actual things that come with that, right? So like YouTube will give you extra resources, or they might help you in certain ways because you've earned that from them, that they can see that you've built this on their platform, so they'll do that, and all these types of things. So for you now, what is your vision for Smile to Jannah now over the next few years? Where do you want to take things, and I suppose, has the mission changed in any way?
I guess the paradigm shift was when I realized that Smile to Jannah was what I was.
Okay.
So where I was going, Smile to Jannah was going. So I guess the shift needs to be with me as I'm growing. Like, for example, when I was unemployed for 2 years, and I went to people like the CV building workshop and this and that, I made a video with regards to that. I was like to the brother, why don't you make a video on this? Then when after uni, I made a video in university. Then with the different aspects, I've done that. So it's an extension of me. So wherever I'm going, and whatever I'm learning, and there's so much to learn. I think in our library there's a quote again of Malcolm X. He says that if I had a longer life, I would just read more, because it just opens just windows and worlds up to you, and that's what it is. So my main thing is to learn more. I'm really fascinated by psychology and people. So because when you understand people, then you can cater the message to them. You know what I mean? So like they say, wisdom, the dawah, if someone says, what way do you do dawah, and then says no, there's no one way of doing dawah. True dawah is wisdom, knowing how to give a message to a specific person in a specific situation. If you give a generic dawah to a person that's not in that situation, you're going to push them further away. You know what I mean? So you have to, and what you actually said, that practical element, I was listening to Jim Quick, and he said one of the ways of retaining information is through practical application. So you're actually, mashallah, ahead of the game in that aspect, that you'd give them a practical thing that's going to stick in their mind and experience, which is quite, mashallah, profound compared to what some other people do. They think just speaking to them for half an hour, 45 minutes, that's not the name of the game anymore. So I guess the main thing for me, bro, was also, I was saying, the Sunnah, we know that the Sahaba had beards, the Prophets had beards, we know they did this, they did that, like, but I'm not seeing that. So I knew that if I'm to promote that, I need to do that myself. So the way for me to do that is I need to apply that in my life. So I think the key is for me to apply that in my life, be consistent in it, and continue to learn more and experience life, and keep my finger on the pulse with what's going on, and keep informing people. I find that quite liberating, being in touch and being able to comment on news, which at a time we would just watch frustrated and just complain and just moan. Now I'm able to kind of take it, repackage it, and then present it and help people and save their iman through this avenue. Because mashallah, there's preachers that are better preachers than me. There are da'is that are better than me. There's content out there that's better than mine. So what can I do? I have this platform, it's unique. So that's my main thing, is just to be consistent, because Allah likes acts. It's mentioned in the hadith of nearest, meaning that even if they're less in amount, but as long as they're consistent. Consistency is key, bro.
Absolutely. So in terms of Smile to Jannah, then Smile to Jannah basically is the embodiment of who you are and what is happening at the time in your world at that moment in time, whatever new knowledge that you have that you think would be good to share. I think you were saying stuff about when you were talking about when you started your journey into like your health and your diet, the content came out that matched that, right?
But you know why? It's because when you're doing something and when you're talking about it, it's naturally more passionate. You're more passionate, you're more real, you're more authentic. That's why.
No, absolutely. And it goes back to people who start something and 6 months later they finish, because actually it wasn't them. It was someone else that they were trying to be. And that's never going to be something that's going to be successful, because you can't put on an act forever, right?
Exactly.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you actually on the way here was, so like Smile to Jannah, like I kind of almost see Smile to Jannah is almost like an alter ego, almost like a separate personality to Zeeshan, right? Because we're chilling here, we're having jokes, but obviously when you're on Smile to Jannah, it's a lot more kind of emotive. It's a lot more kind of, there's a lot more expression, and obviously there's the humor that you're putting into that, right? So do you kind of see yourself as a comedian? Do you see yourself in the kind of the purest sense of that word? Someone like Jim Carrey or Sacha Baron Cohen, who are they're through and through, they are comedians, and they have the real life, they go about their day in the normal way, and then when they come on a stage or when they come in front of a camera, the way they deliver their art is through comedy. Do you feel that about yourself as well?
I mean, I would say that I write comedy. When I'm writing, I'll deliberately put jokes in there. I'll play with certain words, make puns or whatnot. But if I'm doing comedy, I guess that's for the audience to judge. To certain people, I'm the most hilarious guy, but to other people, I'm cringe. You know what I mean? It depends. And there are certain mainstream comedians, when I look at them, I'm like, people find this funny. And then another guy who may not have views, and I'm flipping, I need to go to the toilet just to get rid of the stain that I've made in my pants. So in that sense, it depends. Like comedian, I think it depends who you ask. But comedy, I'd say I write comedy. But comedian, I'd personally say it depends on the people watching.
Okay, fine.
So per se, like in my everyday life, it depends who I'm with. There's certain people that I'm with, I'm open, and like, I don't know, there's something about them that I just want to keep, try making them laugh. There are other people that I'm more serious around. It honestly depends who I'm around.
Right, okay.
Certain people just bring that out of you. Certain people don't. It's just what it is. And sometimes it's what you're going through. Like, somebody was saying, like, there's something that I was going through, I think for the last 6 months. It's quite difficult, but on camera, like, I know that's not that doesn't need to be shared.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for other people, like there needs to be like a baseline kind of Assalamu alaikum guys and welcome to another episode, and then afterwards you're like so there is a degree of acting, like you do that with kids. Like some people say, oh, that's fake. It's not necessarily fake, it's a character or a persona.
Playing to the audience, you know, with the audience kind of
like energy,
how they digest it.
Yeah, like I've seen people, bro, if you're energetic, you're funny, you got movement, it's what's the word, it's infectious. But when a person's very flaccid and they're like very monotone, that's dead. You know what I mean? Like I've experienced that myself, sitting in a 3-hour lecture at university with a teacher that's talking monotone, and another teacher that's only got like a picture on the slide and she's talking for 20 minutes on that one picture. And I'm like, damn man, this is gold. And you really appreciate that. So I guess I'll never be able, people say, oh, do you feel like you've got it right? I don't know. Like honestly, because I've gone through that myself, I'm like, if I was in that position, how would I feel? So I guess I'm trying to put across for me at their level. So if I was like, if I was 15, 16 and I wasn't practicing, what sort of content would appeal to me? If I was on road and I did this and I come on, or if I saw my video, like what would I want on there? You know what I mean? So that's the kind of philosophy that I've taken, and I really try put thought into it. Like because I went through certain dark periods, like if I'm doing a video on dark periods, I'll be like, you know, let me put myself in that situation. That's why movies like Joker and stuff like this really fascinate me, because and even the Dark Knight Joker as well, very fascinating characters with many layers. And even these mental illnesses, not just people that have their team has lost the game and they say they're depressed, not that sort of depression, like proper like darkness. I find that quite fascinating. And in order to do that, if you're talking, I feel if I'm talking about something, I have to have gone through it myself. I feel like I can do justice to some level. If someone's like, oh bro, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, I've taken what you said on board, but genuinely I'm not catering for you, I'm catering for me if I was in your position. You know what I mean? That's I don't know you, I've never met you, so I can't really speak for you. I can just project my limited experience and what I've learnt that shaped me. But I think that's, I don't know if I'm waffling or not, but
no, I completely understand where you're coming from. And one of the topics that I wanted to kind of move on to, I'm conscious, because I thought it'd only been half an hour when I looked at the clock. It's actually been like an hour and a half, but like alhamdulillah, it's just flown by. One of the kind of the last topics that I wanted to speak to you about, because you are a teacher, it's what your profession is. Something which is a huge topic of debate in the UK is obviously LGBTQ and the promotion of that in today's society. It's something that, you know, I don't have any kids, but when I do, inshallah, like genuinely speaking, I'm thinking already now at this point, like, what am I going to do? Am I going to send them to a school? Am I going to homeschool them? Am I going to leave the country and go to, you know, Dubai, so I can at least put them in, you know, a semi-Islamic country where they can, you know, not have these things around them and these influences. What's the kind of, I suppose, what is happening in schools right now? You know, what is the actual policy on this? What age are people learning what now when it comes to sexual intercourse and more kind of specifically LGBT kind of topics?
I think that depends on the school. It depends on how watered down they're doing it, how they are teaching and presenting it. So I'd recommend that as a parent, you're more in touch with the school, you ask them what they're doing, and they should really be telling you. And if there is a way to opt out, or if there is a way to kind of maybe move schools to a school that you're maybe more content with how they're following this policy. And the other things you suggested, if that's not something you agree with, you're more than welcome to homeschool, or you're more welcome to leave the country. But again, the key here would be the parent themselves needs to be established. You know what I mean? Like, invest in yourself, make sure you're a learned person, that if you were to take your child out, you'd be able to compensate for that. You know what I mean? Like, certain parents, they're not at that stage because they're relying relying on the school. As a human being, never rely on somebody at that level. You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to, at least at the primary level, be compensating for your child if they were not to be in school, or if certain things were being taught. You should be able to kind of converse with them and give them convincing answers, and, you know, do their tarbiyah properly, which sometimes many parents are not in that position, and that's why there's such panic. So it is what it is. You have to monitor your own situation and just take it from there, to be honest, because there's no clear-cut answer, because no school is following a uniform thing. Each school is, you know, catering and handling it in the way they seem best, because there's certain communities where there's a lot of Muslims, and like they say, it's not necessarily Muslims that are rebelling against this. There's Orthodox Christians and Jews as well, but because Muslims make the headlines, we're kind of being taken and moved and seen as the objectors. It's not necessarily us only. So I think it just depends, to be honest. And to be fair, I think a situation and time will come, you will have to, you know, take a more active educational relationship with your child, maybe even homeschooling. In fact, as a teacher, I'm telling you that they could be more done one-to-one with a parent that knows what they're doing at home. 100% one-to-one. Because at school we got break time, dinner time, there's different abilities, and we're differentiating, and we're giving them half an hour to do an exercise where you could literally clock that exercise in 15 minutes if you know the ability of your child.
Exactly.
Rather than me giving a PowerPoint presentation on France and the culture, flipping, take them to France, like £30 Eurostar, you know what I mean? Or just you know, off peak, take them to Morocco and show them the culture instead of pictures on PowerPoint and textbooks.
I feel that school can be for a lot of people almost like a form of daycare, where it's like, we're just going to drop the kids off, right? Doesn't matter what they learn, right? As long as you know, they're out of my hands. And then, like, I mean, not in this kind of cynical way, but like, it's kind of become that way. So we just drop the kids off, they're going to school, they're in a good safe place, they're going to learn good stuff, and then they're going to come home, they'll do some homework, and they'll chill, and they'll just rinse and repeat that cycle. I think that's where it becomes dangerous, when you're not, like, as you said, when you're not taking that active kind of look into what's actually being taught. It's funny when I look at certain documentaries nowadays about, for example, you know, things like the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and, you know, the events of World War I and World War II, and all those types of things as well. You know what I'm talking about, yeah? When I was in school and I was learning these things, I remember my history teacher specifically kicking me out of the class because I asked, like, a question about, okay, so what about the Palestinian people? You know what I mean? Nice. She kicked me out of the class, and for me, I wasn't rebelling or anything like that. It was just I was inquisitive. I was like, okay, cool. So let me get this right, okay? So Hitler did the Holocaust in Germany and killed millions and millions of Jews. Yes, okay. So why did they go to Palestine and then kick out the Muslims, and, like, you know what I mean? Like that what, like, I didn't understand why that happened.
Why is it okay there? Yeah, it wasn't okay there.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's always a justification, like, oh, this person gave that land to that person, and all that type of stuff. But it's very skewed, and you're kind of growing up, and you do have this almost a resentment of your own history and your own people, because obviously, you know, the Crusaders, the English have always almost had a war against Islam. You know what I mean? So it's like, why would they teach anything in school about history, which was a promotion?
Like Noam Chomsky said, isn't it? It's the victors that write the history. Yeah. And somebody else also said that if you look at the news, if the news is based upon lies, then God knows what's in history. Yeah, and you got people like Howard Zinn that actively working, you know, and there's a really good book, People's History of America. We actually see what was done with the nation. I mean, look, the fact that we're convinced and we're told that, look, Christopher Columbus discovered America, that, you know, how they're able to make that seem like a credible thing. And people are like, all right, cool, he discovered it. Bro, it blows my mind, man. I rate them, to be honest. Because how are you able to discover a land on which millions of people are still there? And you're able to convince other people, he discovered it, but there's millions of people living there. How is he discovering it? Didn't they discover it? And people are okay with that.
Yeah.
It blows. And then you find out the reality of Christopher Columbus and how that lie was formed. You're like, flipping heck, man. What else is there?
What is the life of Christopher Columbus?
I mean, they make it seem like he was a liberator. He went there and he discovered it. But in reality, he was a reject. He went there, raped, pillaged, and he didn't really discover the America that we know of today. He went there, used them when he noticed that to such a degree that the Native Americans were given vests and jumpers of smallpox to literally wipe them out. To such a degree that the amount of Native Americans that were wiped out, it affected the global climate, because they would obviously burn trees. So it affected, and that's all in Howard Zen's book. But again, this sort of stuff, but you'll only appreciate this stuff when you've learnt something. You know what I mean? You have to learn what's there now to appreciate the alternative side. But if you're not bothering to learn, you feel it's not important, then what we're saying could sound like waffle to you, like it's a history thing. But like, because I know that, and I'm like, damn, this is what's been given to me, then how does it affect my people? You know what I mean? Then you're like, damn, like this is what's going on now. Flip. Like, man, like, why don't people know this? Because people are too busy consuming. It's the whole Colosseum and the emperor and distraction is, king. So that's what's happening now, bro. Why do you think that Lord of the Rings TV episode or TV series that's got an investment of $1 billion? You know what I mean? Why are actors being paid so much? Why? Because they're a key form of distraction. Because what if people start speaking out? They're like, hang on a minute. Our England flag is based upon St. George, and St. George never came in this country. And he was a Palestinian / Turk. Are you crapping me, mate? Are you taking the mick? Like, flipping it. And this, even what we sing as well, that's actually a Jewish song. Like, it's not really like, are you winding me up? Yes, what I'm saying is that, just if you're inquisitive, this sort of stuff will be interesting. And that's why I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was because certain artists like Loki, Akala, and other people that I kind of was like, these people are gangster. So when they said they read it cover to cover, I was like, whoa. All right, I need to check this book out. So even when you're kind of slipping and you're in a weak position, like, still be cautious of what content you're consuming. You know what I mean? If you are gonna listen to music, like, listen to conscious music. You know what I mean? Like, if you are going to watch movies, then watch movies that afterwards you feel like it's made you smarter. You know what I mean? Like, there was this series called Sherlock on BBC. At the end of that, bro, like, I feel like I'm smarter. I feel like I can notice certain things. Because that's encouraging something that's it's a big phenomenon of mindfulness, being aware, being in the moment, which is a very key a key thing to kind of adopt if you are to appreciate what life is to offer. But that's what I would say as a parting sort of thing, that mitigate the damage if you are to do damage, but ultimately realize the importance of the rope of Allah, because no matter what I say or what I do, my credit will always go to Him, because there's no other way I can think of.
I just want to end this by asking you one final question, which is, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, go back 10 years, what advice would you give yourself to the 20-year-old you? I'm not talking about to any 20-year-old out there. I mean, you as a 20-year-old, what would you tell yourself as advice that you've gained over these 10 years that would help that person?
If I was face to face with that person, he's like, yo, what the hell, who are you? You look like me. Yeah, I'm you in 10 years. I look good. He's like, all right, cool, tell me something. Come on, mate, tell me something. Trust in the process. Because whatever's going to happen to you now is going to shape the person you're going to be. The bad, the good, the tears, the anger, the loss, the gain. Just trust in the process. Just imagine, anytime something happens, imagine Allah's asking you, Zeeshan, do you trust me? And your response being, yeah, I do. That's all I'd say, and the rest of the time I'd just chill with him. Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Thanks so much, bro.
No worries,
to everybody watching out there, please make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe to not only myself, but also Smile to Jannah. More likely, you're probably coming from his channel anyway, so subscribe to me, which would be great. In terms of contact and video, if people want to reach out to you, I mean, what's the best way to kind of get hold of you? What type of people would you be interested in? You know, if certain people are doing certain things and they wanted to kind of collaborate with you, who are the type of people that you would want to hear from in the first place? And you know, where can people get more of your stuff from?
I think someone who respects the kind of boundaries that have been set by Islam and understands that and uses that as step one in their content creation. I respect people like that. Somebody that doesn't and that's kind of doing their own thing and they just want to grow subscriber bases, I'm not down for that, to be honest. If you want to, I mean, my DMs are open on Insta. Yeah, I'm on, I think, YouTube, Facebook, you know what I mean? It's easy, just click the send message thing and I'll ignore your message, you know what I mean?
Sick. And have you still got your...
I'm not going to ignore your message.
Have you still got your Smile to Jannah shop as well?
Yeah, that's there as well.
All right, guys, make sure that you go over to smiletojannah.com. Make sure you also come to norizq.com. Check us out. If you've got to this point, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. And hope to see you guys and talk to you guys on the next one, inshallah. But bro, thanks so much for your time. It's a massive,
Pleasure, bro.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my privilege to be here. Thanks so much for everything. And yeah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.